welcome to episode 1 of Seeing Through the Cards. This is where I want to take deep dives into different aspects of card play and bidding and working out where the missing cards actually are and using all these inferences, layering them all on top of each other so that you can see through the cards and get a fantastic idea of what the missing hands actually look like. Now, today what we want to look at is taking a deep dive on playing the lower of touching cards. This is an aspect of defense that when your partner leads to you, you're actually meant to play the lower of touching cards. This is different to when you're leading. Usually you lead top of a sequence, but when being led to, you usually want to play the lower of touching cards. Now, we'll go into why you want to be doing this, when you might not want to do it, how Declarer can actually abuse this. But let's jump in and take a look at why you should be doing it in the first place. So here, let's say that we got a club lead and we're defending. We've got this ace, king, queen. What should we actually play from here? Now, typically what you actually want to play is the queen. And for this, it's a lot easier if we actually jump over to our partner's perspective to see what's actually happening here. So we've got ace, king, queen, but let's just unwind this and we'll jump over to our partner's perspective to work out why we should actually be doing this. So, little jump over there. So here we've led a club and there's a club there. And then we see the queen appear and then the 2. What can we actually determine about where the location of the honors actually are? Well, clearly if East had the king of clubs, they should be putting the king of clubs on. So straight away we can say, okay, North's got the king of clubs as well. What about where's the ace of clubs? Well, also, if East had the ace of clubs, I can't see a good reason why they would be ducking here. So North also has the ace of clubs. By putting on the queen here, we can actually work out that when it wins, our partner has ace, king, queen, and we can start building this picture up of where those club cards are. If we actually just backtrack and then we see the ace appear, we wouldn't really have any great information about where the king or the queen actually is if we weren't applying this rule. So by playing the lower of touching cards, it can really help the defense work out where the missing cards actually are. Now, if you do follow this rule pretty religiously, then what happens is when you do see this ace, you can use the negative inference that, oh wow, my partner, if they had ace and king, should be playing the king, therefore East has the king. So you can use it two ways. When your partner wins something really low, you can go, okay, they've got all these higher ones, unless Declarer's got a good reason for ducking. And also, when partner plays something high, you can go, okay, they don't have those other cards. The king's over there. I don't want to be continuing with the clubs because maybe we can see the clubs in the other hand. There's no great need to do that. So it's really useful for having this twofold sort of practice of being able to place where are those missing cards. When partner doesn't do it, you can place the king in the east hand. And when partner wins with the queen of clubs, now we know that they've got ace, king, queen. There's less stuff we can play for them to be elsewhere. Maybe we want to be keep going with clubs there. But Pete, you may ask, can't Declarer abuse this? And the answer is definitely. Yes, we're giving the information away to Declarer and the defense. But here, what you want to look at is when you're defending, at the start of the hand, you've got very little information about what your side should be actually doing. You're sort of flying in the dark and you want to be conveying a lot of information to your partner so that you two can piece together a plan as early as possible to work out how to defend. Yes, this gives the information to Declarer as well, but Declarer can see their partnership assets. They can make a plan. They have a really good strategy from trick 1. So their ability to use this information is significantly lower than the defense. So while we are giving this information over to both players, it is still really, really useful for the defense to be doing it, even though they get punished a bit by a declarer using this. And in this video, I want to show you how to actually capitalize on that information as the declarer, because this is a really good tactic for improving your declarer play. That being said, as a defender, you should still be doing it, but there are times that maybe you won't. So I want to look at when should you actually be truthful here. So when should the defense actually be truthful and be playing the lower of touching cards? So the whole purpose of this is to convey information to your partner so that they can build an idea of how to make a plan, where your assets are, what we can actually do. But that's only useful when your partner's not sure what to do, when your partner can actually contribute to the plan, and when declarer is not actually going to abuse it for you. So when the defense should be truthful is early in the hand. Early in the hand, you don't really know what you're trying to be doing. Also, there is a big difference between when your partner is leading a suit and when declarer is leading a suit. So let's have a look at that. All right, so here, let's look at this example where our partner's led a spade and then declarer puts in the jack. Okay, should we play the king or the queen? So usually what you want to be doing is be playing the lower of touching cards. And the reason for this is if we put in the queen here, what happens is when this wins, from our partner's perspective, they will know we have the king. Right? Declarer might also be able to piece together what's going on. Now, when our partner leads the suit, we really want them to be continuing this suit. So it's really useful for us to be playing the lower of touching cards so that partner knows that this is a good thing to be attacking and they should be going after it. But let's look at another example of this same hand, but now declarer is the one attacking the suit. So if declarer is the one that's leading the suit here, and then partners following, usually what we actually want to do is maybe randomize. Sometimes you can play the queen, sometimes you can play the king. There's not as big an urgency for you to actually play your high card, because if declarer is playing on the suit, they're trying to build tricks there. And if we always just routinely played the lower of touching cards, when we win the king in this spot, they would know for certain their finesse is working and that they could safely do it. So we don't want to give them that sort of information. And also, it's unlikely that our partner would be interested in playing this suit when declarer is quite happy to play it as well. So in this spot, you can sometimes play the king and sometimes play the queen. You don't need to be playing it one way or the other. You should be trying to randomize it. I know lots of people that will always false guard here, but really randomizing it's what you should be actually doing. Now, and when we bring this back is we want to give partner information. Our partner probably won't be the one playing spades again, so us giving them that information isn't going to be relevant. So when our partner leads the suit, then you usually want to be truthful here. When declarer is the one leading the suit, you don't need to be. You can choose whether you want to play the king or queen. You can do something a bit different. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is when to be truthful is when the good suit's not in the dummy, but in declarer's hand. Here, the defense will very often be truthful because you want to convey the information to your partner. And this happens more or less whether declarer or defender is leading the suit. So I'll bring up the same hand, but this time as the north hand as declarer. So here, if your partner leads a spade and it goes jack, and we would really want to put in the queen, just so that we can help clarify the position to our partner. Even if it's the west hand that's actually leading here, very often you would still probably tell the truth, although it's not, you don't need to, but it's really hard for your partner to know, well, what is going on in the suit. When they can see it in the dummy, you don't need to convey that information. But if they have no idea what's going on in the spades whatsoever, it's really hard for them to piece together the entire hand. So when the good suit is actually hidden, very often you would be playing the lower of touching cards here. So what I want to get to is when the defense are truthful is early in the hand. The main reason for early in the hand is we want to give that information, build up a plan. That's when it's vitally important. Later on in the hand, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to sway your plan too much. You have to sort of commit one way or the other. When your partner, the defender, is leading, very often you'll be telling the truth on defense. When the declarer is leading, you don't need to be doing it as much. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but usually if the declarer is playing it, they're going to keep going. There isn't that same importance in trying to do that. Also, when the strength of the strong suit's in the hidden hand, very often you will still be wanting to convey the information on defense by playing the lower of touching cards, because your partner just has no idea about the suit here. So you would usually still be telling the truth there. As a side point, what should declarer be doing from touching cards? Usually declarer wants to be doing the opposite of what the defense is doing, such that the defense should be playing the lower of touching cards, but the declarer should usually be playing the higher of touching cards, just to try and not convey information that well. So here, North has ace, jack, 10 of spades, like we saw earlier, but if declarer puts in the 10, and we win the queen, what the West player can infer from this situation is that North has the jack, because if we had the queen and the jack, we would be playing the jack. Now that we didn't, they can place it in the North hand. So the declarer really should be doing the opposite of what the defense are trying to do here. So we've looked at when the defense should be truthful, which is early in the hand, when the defenders are leading, less so when the declarer is leading, and also when the hidden hand actually has the strength, or the dummy is weak in that suit. They'll very often be truthful. When don't the defenders need to be? It's also useful to look at that. I've touched on this a little bit, but there are two main reasons. Firstly, they don't need to convey information, or they suspect that declarer is going to abuse that information. So let's just break down those two aspects a little bit more. So when don't you actually need to convey information? Firstly, if your partner is just irrelevant, just a passenger on the defense. So if you are very strong and partner's not going to be on lead, if you know you've got all of the assets for the defense, you don't need to convey this information because partner isn't going to make a meaningful decision on this hand. So therefore, you don't need to convey the usual rules. Also, maybe partner has all the information anyway. So if you know that declarer is about to show out in the suit, then what you actually know is partner can work it out just by seeing what shows out in declarer's hand. Or if for some other reason partner just has the information from the bidding or something else that's already happened, you don't need to be doing it then. The other one, late in the hand. I've already talked about this, but we, as defenders, you want to make that plan early. Later on in the hand, you don't need to follow these general practices. You can do what you like. What about when is declarer going to actually abuse that information and get the most value out of it? And that is when you suspect declarer is the one that's going to be continuing the suit. So if declarer is going to keep playing the suit, then you don't need to encourage your partner to what's going on. They will see it as it progresses. So if declarer is going to play the suit again, why give them accurate information to begin with? It's sort of the reasoning there. So now we know when to use it, when not to. I want to jump over to declarer's perspective and work out what we can actually determine from these sorts of using this information to actually piece it all together. So let's jump in and take a look. All right, so this was an example that I got from playing against the robots, but I wanted to try and work out what the lead was actually from and piecing it together. So this was really falls under, you should be playing the lower of touching cards, but it also adds in other assets that I'm going to talk about in later episodes of Seeing Through the Cards. But here we got the lead of the 6 of diamonds, and I want to try and work out what that lead was from. And the early play went 6, 7, 8. So let's work out what's actually going on here. And a few things that you want to try and piece together is firstly ask, what is the lead from? Also, third hand should be playing high. So here, if East had the Jack and the 8, you'd usually expect them to play the Jack. And finally, they should be playing the lower of touching cards. So my question is, what has West led from here? So I want to give you about 30 seconds to try and piece together what you actually think West has led from. How are the diamonds breaking? Who has what diamonds and why? All right, so here, let's look through. If West has a 5-card diamond suit, that's all the missing diamonds. Jack, 10, 9, and the 6 and the 3. If they had all of that, they would be leading the Jack. So West is not leading from a 5-card suit. What about a 4-card suit? Well, that would give them Jack, 10, 9, 6. Again, you would lead the Jack from that. So West doesn't have that either. What about West has just 3 diamonds? Now, with the robots, they lead low from 3. So if West had 3 diamonds, this 6 would be the lowest. So let's look at what they might have. Well, they might have Jack, 10, 6. Now, I suspect that would also lead the Jack from that as well. So let's look at some other ones that they might have. Well, Jack, 9, 6. Well, now this 8 isn't consistent because East should be playing third hand high. They should be putting in the 10 if they have that. All right, so what about 10, 9, 6? East should be putting in the Jack there. So whatever 3-card holding West has, they either would have led the Jack, top of the sequence, or East should be putting in a different card here rather than the 8. So then we can rule out 3, 4, and 5-card suits with West. So West could either have a doubleton diamond, the 6 and the 3, or a singleton diamond. But it's one of these ones where you might think, oh, they've just led low, they've got these things. But because of combining playing the lower of touching cards with also third hand high, and what should the lead be, we can actually determine that West doesn't actually have length in diamonds there. And this really requires just combining different aspects, but you can see just, oh, this looks like a very innocuous lead and a play here, but you can actually determine lots of information there. So if I just return another diamond here, you can actually see West will show out here and that it's actually a singleton. So you can start building a picture of the missing hands and then ask further questions on top of this. But being able to spot that the defenders should be playing the lower of touching cards, and how can we actually use this to our advantage as declarer to build a picture of the missing hands is really important for being able to see through the cards. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive on playing the lower of touching cards.